this lacuna rana is Dan's version. You could probably read it from the other version, but his rhythm is different. It's probably on your iPads, but I'm going to give it to you. Make sure you tell them to replace the other one. Yep. I discovered a quick way to do that. Somebody taught me. You just open the set list and drag the title right in. Yeah, maybe you're the one who taught me. Yeah. 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 The Mizmor we did. The Hadavi is cool. Barker, you know all that. You can follow all that. Rocket Pages, here it's in. That's all good. Your Sondheim, that sounds great. Oh. Sweet, it's fun, yeah. I'm sorry there's not more in there for you guys. Yeah. What's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right? Okay, light one candle. Let me give you this version, and I'm going to call it. I'm going to call this Mulu. I'm going to give you this. Put this light one candle in. Two individual pieces. Yeah. This is light one candle, but Dan only wants to do one chorus, the first and second verse, and then two choruses at the end. So if you follow the links from the version I just gave you, this one's called Light One Candle, the arrow arranged to permeate A flat Mulu. You'll see it. I'm up here because you could have gotten through the whole service, but you would have been like WTF about every eighth number. Like, what is happening?
No, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if you remember, Dan did an arrangement with Chase It. That's a kind of a different movement too. But for some reason, he wants to do that again. Yep. She can see. And
The first person isn't real. She just like start.
I'm getting.
Conversation.
looks like this. Yeah. I don't know. You have it. It's the same thing. Just put it in.
Yeah.
As I said, you probably could read it once you got
No,
started.
we appreciate it.
But you'd be anxious because you're like, does it stay like this?
הלל גבורות ישראל אותן נבנה, הן בכבודו יקום הגיבור גואל העם. מי ימלל גבורות ישראל אותן נבנה, הן בכבודו יקום הגיבור גואל העם. שמע בזמן הזה מכבי מושיע ופודה, ובימינו מולד ישראל יתייחד יקום יד ישראל. מי ימלא גבורות ישראל אותן נבנה, הן בכבודו יקום הגיבור גואל העם. מי ימלא גבורות ישראל אותם נבנה, הם בכבודו יקום הגיבור גואל העם. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Welcome to Shabbat services here at Central Synagogue, and hello to all of you into the sanctuary with us, and of course to all of you live streaming with us. Hello to our neighbors, and a special shout out to our 20s, 30s community, who I think is up in the balcony. Hi.
No, they're over there. Yay.
Oh, there they are. Okay. They're everywhere, of course. So I am Rabbi Dan Ross, and I'm joined on the Bima this evening by our colleagues, Senior Rabbi Angela Buchdahl, Rabbi Ari Lurge, Cantor Dan Mutlu, Rabbi Rebecca Rosenthal, Rabbi Mo Salth, and we're so grateful to have Dr. Shani Silverberg, our synagogue president, and John and Juliana May joining us on the Bima as well as our Bima guests. Thank you so much. And we, of course, are so grateful to have the words of our worship lifted by our musicians and to offer extended gratitude to our entire operations, events, and technical staff for making these services possible. And on this Shabbat Hanukkah, I want to single out for gratitude a particular group of people who many of you saw, hopefully most of you or all of you saw on your way in, and that is our Shamashim. So our Shamashim are our ushers who greet you when you walk into services, but you may notice that that word Shamashim sounds very close to a word that we hear quite often during Hanukkah, and that is Shamash, because they are the same word. So the Shamash, of course, the Shamash candle is the helper candle, and when I was little, I understood that it was the helper candle because it helped you to light each of the other candles. But that's actually not what the Shamash candle is for. So the rabbi said that you light a Hanukkah menorah, you light the lights, and you cannot use those lights, which means that you can't set them up by your bedside so that you can read from them. So what do you do instead? You put one more candle than is necessary for the night of Hanukkah. That's the helper candle. It helps the other candles, and that's the candle that you are actually getting your light from. So when we think about our Shamashim at Central, they actually kind of serve both of these functions, right? They help you find your seats, they hand out the orders of service, they can show you where the bathroom is. That's the way they kind of light the other candles. But really, what makes them so special and so important and essential to this community is that extra light and warmth that they bring to you when you enter to worship with us on Shabbat. And so what I want to say is that if you're looking for a way to get involved at Central, to give back to Central, shoot us an email about becoming one of our shamashim. It's a really, really great way to get involved, and we'd love to have you. And for many years, our shamashim were led by our wonderful member, Anne Muradpour, an incredible leader in this community. And we are so grateful for her years of service. But in a passing of the torch, or this is Rabbi Buchdahl's pun, passing of the shamash moment, we're going to invite the new leader of the shamashim, Cheryl Lexton, and her husband, Michael, up to the bima right now to light the Hanukkah candles. We bring in the lights of Shabbat as well, and so we're going to welcome our candle lighters, Barry Gans, George Levin, Harper Levin, Philip Silver, Renee Zuckerman, and Juliet Weisvogel up to the bima to light the Shabbat candles. We continue with our Kabbalat Shabbat service with the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat with Lechuna Ranana on page 4 or in your order of service.
Lechuna Ranana l'Adonai Nariya Letzor Sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice.
Continue with Mizmor LeDavid on page 18 or on your order of service.
Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai Benedi, Havul Adonai Kavod Va'oz, Havul Adonai Kevod Shemo, Ishtacharu Adonai Be'atrat Kodesh, Kol Adonai Al Hamayim, El HaKavod Hirim, Adonai
Kabbalat Shabbat with the welcoming song of Lecha Dodi, page 20.
Ya la 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 לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת, פני שבת נקבל, יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת, פני שבת נקבל, שמור וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה, יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה לה פני שבת, פני שבת נקבל, לקראת שבת, לקראת שבת, לכו ונלכה, לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם, מראש מקדם, לסוכה, סוף מעשה, במחשבה תחילה, יאללה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה פני שבת, פני שבת נקבל, התעוררי, התעוררי, יברך קומי אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, יאללה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה פני שבת, פני שבת נקבל, בואי בשלום, עטרת מעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמונך עם סגולה, בואי חלה, יאללה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה פני שבת, פני שבת נקבל, יאללה לך דודי, יאללה לה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה פני שבת, פני שבת נקבל. We turn to page 146 in our Sidurim for Baruch Hu, our call to worship. We'll remain standing.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated as we continue reading together on the facing page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvidvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim b'mishmeretehem, barakia kirtsono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
ומעביר יום ומהביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ברבים.
Page 148, we read responsively. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world.
In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with truth.
In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Tevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם דעות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue on page 152 with Mi Chamocha. This prayer is something of a chameleon. It takes on the form of the season, and so the melody tonight will be familiar and unusual at the same time.
Mi chamocha ba'elim
Hashkivenu can be found in your order of service.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I'm here for a reason.
Sometimes in my tears I drown,
drown,
but I never let it get me down.
Get me down.
So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all come around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that they don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play one day, one day, one day, oh, one day, one day. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom, V'Havidenu Malkeinu Lechem, Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom, V'Havidenu Shalom,
Amidah continues on page 155. 155, and be on the lookout for, as we continue through, unique sections for Hanukkah. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tifta ufi agit tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaRav, Elyon Negomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים איתי מטרה להושיע. משיב הרוח מוריד הגשם, מחבר חיים בחסד. בחיי ביתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחבר מחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללו חסנה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue now silently, either using the words of the Siddur through page 167, but like I said, if you're on that path, there's a special jump to page 264 for Hanukkah this Shabbat. Otherwise, we can also just offer up our own prayers. You can also go to page 264 in that case too, but we can remain standing or be seated. Many of us heard the news last week of the passing of Stephen Sondheim just as Shabbat began. Since then, there have been countless tributes. Sondheim, as a once-in-a-generation artist, belonged to the world. But as a Jew by birth and identity, as someone so strongly connected to New York City, he's ours as well. And as the resident staff Sondheim aficionado, I was asked to share some words and to suggest some music to pay tribute to him. Of course, when I was asked, I immediately thought of his lyric, "I have nothing to say, nothing that's not been said." Mandy Patinkin, I think, captured it so beautifully when he said this week, "The guy who wrote my prayers died. His words were my Torah." John Ruskin wrote that all that is good in art is the expression of one soul talking to another. I believe that with every fiber of my being. So though we mourn this loss keenly, we know that his soul and ours continue to converse through the lyrics and music that he gifted us. And in that way, and in so many other ways, he continues to be a blessing. In that vein, we share this loving tribute tonight. White, a blank page or canvas. The challenge, bring order to the whole. Through design, composition, tension, balance, light, and harmony.
Not a day goes by, not a single day, but you're somewhere a part of my life, and it looks like you'll stay till the days go by, till the days go by. Till the days go
Mother cannot guide you. Now you're on your own. Only me beside you. Still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone. Sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. Only may deceive you. You decide what's good. You decide alone. But no one is alone. I wish.
I know. Somebody hold me too close. Somebody hurt me too deep. Somebody sit in my chair and ruin my sleep and make me aware of being alive, being alive. Somebody crown me with love. Somebody force me to care. Somebody let me come through. I'll always be there, as frightened as you, to help us survive. Being alive, being alive, being alive.
We've always belonged together. We will always belong together.
Just keep moving on. Anything you do, let it come from you. Then it will be new. Give us more to see.
Zichrono Levracha. It's beautiful.
We're in the midst in the Torah of reading of the trials of Joseph. Last week he was abandoned in a pit in the wilderness, and in this week's Torah portion he's imprisoned on false pretenses with no way out. There are times for us when we feel stuck metaphorically in a pit or a prison with no escape because we're struggling with illness or abuse or addiction or challenges to our spirit. The Torah describes God as being with Joseph, and yet Joseph is stuck in prison for more than 2 years. Eventually, next week, things get better. And this is our prayer for those of us who are in need of healing, that God be with us, and that however possible, things get better. We think of dear ones now connected to this community: Kathy Barron, Chana, Leah Batsara, Eileen Berger, Simcha Ben Sarah, Donald Brief, Susan Brown, Jerry Calderon, Lou Chen, Monica Corton, Frank Elbling, Corey Flaum, Gary Friedenberg, Jerry Friedman, Susan Friedman, Ann Gresser, Victor Gresser, Howard Hochberg, the James family, Barbara Johnson, Karen Capel-Kaunitz, Melissa Kaufman, Samuel Kirsch, Irving Merkatz, Cordelia Muris, Tom Olmsted, Kurt Pliskin, Marty Reingold, Sandy Schupper, Candace Smilo, Bill Smith, Ann Stuchner, and Richard Zorn. For all of us stuck in the pit, we pray this Misha Barak for healing.
Misha Barak Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say
time to count 8 blessings in honor of the holiday. So if I name one that is true for you, I'll invite you to rise and remain standing. If you are becoming bar or bat mitzvah this Shabbat, Izzy, Renee, and Eli, I'll invite you to rise, please. Mazal Tov, we'll invite your parents and grandparents and siblings and any other family and friends that are here to rise as we say Mazal Tov to you on this wonderful milestone in your lives. Congratulations. If you're celebrating a 1-year anniversary of becoming bat mitzvah, I'll invite you to rise. Juliet in the balcony, representing so many, over 90 of our B'nai Mitzvah who became B'nai Mitzvah during COVID. In the darkest of times, Juliet, you and your fellow classmates brought us so much light. We'll invite your parents to rise too. You inspired us, and thank you. If it's your birthday this week or in the week ahead, we'll invite you to rise. Happy birthday. If it's your anniversary this week or in the week ahead, we'll invite you to rise and congratulate you. If you're about to be married and in the congregation, we'll invite you to rise. Stephanie and Lou, we'll see you in a moment. Number 5, do you know that the New York Football Giants and the New York Jets won both last weekend? Nes Gadol Hayapo, if that makes you happy, I'll invite you to rise. Number 6, if you played a round of dreidel this week, or if you've been singing, I had a little dreidel, or I am a latke, or oh Hanukkah,
Rabbi, we know there are a lot of Hanukkah
Okay,
songs.
sorry. Thank you. If you've done any of that, thank you, Cantor, for keeping me on track. I invite you to rise. Number 7, if you, like Rabbi Buchdahl, purchased some sufganiyot, donuts, and enjoyed them this past week, I'll invite you to rise. Number 8, if you have joined us for any of our online Hanukkah celebrations, our candle lightings during this past week, which have been tremendous with amazing teachers, please rise. And wait, this just in, we have a Shamash number 9 edition. If you are just happy to be here on Hanukkah, on Shabbat, we'll invite you to rise and join us in sharing this blessing of Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
We'll invite you to remain standing because we're so honored to have Stephanie and Lou with us. They're about to be married, and Rabbi Rosenthal is going to be blessing them tonight at the Ark.
You can face me. Hi, Stephanie and Lou. There's a discussion among the ancient rabbis about the nature of the Hanukkah miracle that we're celebrating tonight. They ask if there was enough oil to last for at least one night. Why was the first night considered a miracle? Shouldn't there just have been 7 nights of miraculous oil? So why do we celebrate for 8 days? Rabbi David Hartman taught that the reason the miracle was for 8 days was because the Jews had enough faith to light the menorah on the first night, even before there was a miracle assured to them. The Jewish people showed tenacity and faith on the first Hanukkah, which reminds me of you and your relationship. Stephanie, anyone who knows you knows that you went on more than a few dates before you found Lou. And after each one, some good, many, many, many more bad, you never doubted that your other half was out there somewhere waiting for you. You kept the faith until you found the one that you clicked with, who was so obviously right for you that combined the two of you light up this sanctuary and this community. You have needed every ounce of the light that we have tonight in the last 2 years together. Although you met right before the pandemic, much of your relationship was formed in the Flugman family house on Long Island, Lou trying to work and Stephanie trying to run our Zoom nursery school, which is not a thing I recommend. But you decided that you were in it together, weathering ups and downs that have come with the last couple of years, finding ways to travel together, to bring your families together, supporting each other through the wedding planning process. It's been a blessing to watch your love and your relationship grow stronger. Stephanie, you are such a blessing to the whole May Family Nursery School, especially the generations of students who you have touched in your more than 10 years at Central. Anyone who's come in contact with you, whether as a student or like I have as a parent, or as a teacher, knows that you look for the best in every person and you will do everything in your power to support them. And Lou, we are thrilled to welcome you as an honorary member of our team. You are one of us now, and we could not be happier. May the love that you two feel today continue to grow as you celebrate next week under the chuppah, as you build your life and your family together, and as you continue to bring your bright lights to our community and our world. So we're now going to give you the priestly blessing, the blessing that we are going to give you next week under the chuppah, And I know that there's a lot of love for you in this community, in person and online, and we invite you to say your own wishes to Stephanie and Lou as we bless them.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May God bless you and guard you.
יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך.
May God turn God's face to you and be gracious to you.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך
שלום, שלום, כן יהי רצון.
May God turn God's face to you and grant you peace and love and blessings. Amen.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov.
You may be seated. I want to be a Maccabee, so big and brave and bold. I want to be a Maccabee, but I'm only 4 years old. Now, I've taught that song to generations of preschoolers. Who doesn't love Judah Maccabee, the Hebrew hammer? With his band of brothers, he miraculously triumphed over a giant army and enabled Jews to worship in our temple with freedom. How wonderful it was as a child to have a hero so fearless, so unequivocally awesome. But once I became an adult, the story got a little more complicated. I learned that the Maccabees weren't just fighting the Syrian Greek army, they were also killing fellow Jews. The Maccabees were enraged at the Jews who were adapting Hellenistic culture, joining gymnasiums, taking on Greek names, foregoing what they considered authentic Judaism. Looked at with adult eyes, well, the Maccabees, despite their unquestionable bravery against Antiochus and the whole army, they were also an intolerant band of zealots who began a civil war against assimilated Jews. Maybe I needed a new hero. David, Melech Israel, King David. Now there is a hero. He began as a simple shepherd and a marvelous musician. Young David fought Goliath, and with wit and courage, he brought that giant to the ground. And then he went on to become the greatest king of Israel. And he established Jerusalem as our holy eternal capital. And he managed to unite a disparate monarchy. Chai, chai, v'kayam, long, long may he live. But once I started studying the Hebrew Bible, you know the parts they leave out of the children illustrated versions? Well, that story got a little more complicated. I found out with horror that this hero of the Jewish people lusted after a married woman, abused his power to sleep with her, and then he sent her husband onto the front lines to be killed. I was singing and teaching a children's song about an abusive and murderous tyrant. How many times have our heroes turned out to be more complicated humans? How many times have we had to learn the hard lesson that no story is just one story? That there can be those who do incredible good while also doing monstrous harm, that both can reside within a single person or within an institution. Just this month, Hebrew Union College, the Reform Movement's rabbinical and cantorial seminary, published the report of its independent investigation into allegations of sexual harassment and gender bias at the college throughout its history. Over 170 interviews exposed abuses of power, damaging sexism, homophobia, among many other issues. And it singled out 6 faculty, including 2 presidents of the college, for repeated inappropriate sexual behavior. Both of those presidents served while I was a student at HUC. This is an overdue reckoning with leaders who abuse their positions of authority and hurt people who looked up to them, often with very few consequences for their position, but with devastating impact on the survivors. And so, after learning all of this, what do we do? This is not just a question for HUC or even for Central Synagogue when we undertook our own recent investigation into inappropriate sexual behavior by a former senior rabbi. This is an essential conversation today as we deal time and time again with figures who often exemplified compelling leadership, but also committed devastating moral crimes. Do we take down every statue and every picture? Do we erase them from our history books? Do we expunge anything that they ever taught in light of the sins that we now know? Well, our tradition's treatment of King David gives us a wise Torah for thinking about how we might deal with extremely complicated legacies. In the Psalms, and we sang at least one of them in Kabbalat Shabbat tonight, you can read how deeply David reckoned with the gravity of his transgressions, his self-loathing, his true remorse, and his humility. David repents, but God still metes out punishment. God doesn't allow David his most desired legacy of being able to build the holy temple in Jerusalem because David has too much blood on his hands. Our tradition sends a strong message that actions must have consequences. In a later text from the Talmud, King David bargains with God over his permanent record. With each verse, he owns up to his offense, and he repeatedly begs, "Please forgive me." For each of David's actions, including the worst of them, God responds, "These are forgiven." How remarkable that our tradition offers us such a forgiving God. But then David boldly asks God, and I'm paraphrasing, "Now can you just please not put that stuff into the Bible?" And God says, "That I cannot do." In our tradition, we can forgive, but we don't forget. Our tradition's treatment of King David gives us a model for today. First, a perpetrator must atone, and that entails true repentance to the person that they harmed. And there should be consequences for bad actions. Saying "I'm sorry" is not enough. But at the same time, we do not erase or discard human beings forever. And despite the current movement to tear down any traces of leaders who have the stain of past sins, our tradition says it is incumbent upon us to remember their actions, all of them. Judaism does not offer us the flawless heroes we all crave. Flawless heroes don't exist because they're all human. And more critically, Jewish tradition teaches us that often the more charismatic and powerful that people are, the more prone to abuses of that power. And this story is as old as the Bible. I also learned through Central's own investigation that when we are not honest about the complicated nature of our leaders, we actually make it much harder to stop abuse. When someone thinks of a sexual predator, they often imagine the stranger who jumps out of the bushes, not their beloved rabbi or favorite camp counselor or teacher. But these respected figures can sometimes be perpetrators. Predators, more often than not, are people who know how to gain trust, whose charisma makes them feel untouchable, a person so well regarded that their victims fear they will not be believed if they come forward, and feel conflicted about exposing someone who everybody loves so much. Survivors also feel shame, especially when there was no physical coercion, but instead the emotional manipulation of a leader they admired who made them feel special. Here is one more very complicated thing that our tradition forces us to grapple with. The idea that the future Messiah will come from the line of King David. Instead of immaculate conception, we teach that the figure who ushers in the Messianic era, a time when no one will abuse power over another, will come from the line of one of our leaders who committed the gravest of sins, from the progeny of King David. Perhaps our tradition is telling us that it is from the depths of our darkest chapters that we must find light. This is, of course, the message of this Hanukkah season. We should not remove the stories of our flawed leaders from our canon or from our history books. That would leave a hole that only creates more darkness. Instead, we should bring these stories into the light. We should offer a path towards accountability and potential healing and repentance. We should record and retell to ensure that we teach and protect the next generation. It is only in facing the darkness head on that we can hope to bring forth the promise of a more redemptive time. We look to that time with a sense of hopefulness as we turn to our Aleinu prayer together on page 282. I invite everyone to please rise.
Aleinu l'shapeach l'ador hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא סברנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגול עלינו ככל העולם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Please be seated.
ויתקדש שמי רבה.
As we light this memorial candle, I'm struck by the fact that Hanukkah has become a sensitive time for me, as I can't help but think during this festival of lights of people that I used to light Hanukkah candles and nosh on latkes with that are no longer alive. My grandmothers, my father, my dear uncle. I miss them. And I know I'm not alone in remembering those that used to celebrate this holiday by our side. As we prepare to say Mourner's Kaddish this Hanukkah, let us find a way, or more than one way, to continue to honor them by remembering the light they brought into our lives. The Israeli poet Hannah Senesh put it this way: may their memories keep shining ever brightly, even though their time with us is done. The Shabbat we name with love dear ones who lit up our lives, who have died in recent days. Rochelle Brumond, mother of Stafford and Clifton. Barbara Drazen, wife of Mel and mother of Robert, Terry, and Ken. Stanley Epstein, husband of Sylvia and father of Joel, Debbie, and Susan. Mickey Granick, father of Lisa. Adam Miller, father of Amanda. Mark Leon Rosenthal, husband of Linda, father of Stephen and Marjorie, brother of Nancy. Stephen Sondheim. And Susan Wilson, partner of John and mother of Corey and Craig, sister of Linda and William. We also mourn those in our nation who died due to mass shootings, including these 4 students from Oxford High School in Michigan. Hannah St. Julian, age 14, Tate Meyer, age 16, Madison Baldwin, age 17, and Justin Schilling, age 17. We also read with love names of these dear ones whose yard sites occur at this season: Morris Aarons, David Abramson, Herman Ackman, Sylvia Alpert, Maxwell Barnett, Judith Barron, Lester Barron, Marvin Burlow, Ann Binder, Howard Burstein, Esther Cohen, Martha Colin, Ed Donahue, Abraham Eliezer, Gusty Engelberg, Jeffrey Evans, Bud Feder, Walter Fine, Roberta Fisher, Jack Freilicher, Adelaide Gersman, Gladys Gingold, Andrew Glasgow, Paul Goldhill, Dorothy Goldstein, Betty Gorin, Bernard Gorin, Alfred Green, Bernard Greenberg, Max Hoffman, Foiga Holtzman, Theodore Caden, Samuel Carlin, Benjamin Katz, David Kreitzer, Judy Cronenberg, Paul Kassoy, Harry Levine, Elaine Leff, Stanley Lellower, Joseph Lease, Lillian Lichtenstein, Bertha Lipman, Donald Lipp, Harry Lipschultz, Stanley Lisser, Harvey Marin, Frida Myers, Marvin Miller, Mary Mendel, Sylvia Neidick, Esther Oppenheim, Celia Ostroff, Eleanor Paley, Bessie Perlstadt, Eleanor Plotkin, Graham Quinn, Gladys Rykin, Richard Rips, Saul Roth, Jack Rudin, Murray Safran, Ronald Sapal, Francis Schlissel, Martin Schoolman, Morton Schwimmer, Jeanette Silverstein, Irvin Sit-Toll, Sophie Solomon, George Solkin, Meyer Steinberg, Vivian Stupak, Andrew Strasser, Henry Serval, Michael Weinberger, Betty Weiss, Lorraine Wishner, Bella Zemmel, Lev Zetlin, and Isaac Zwirling. If it is within 1 week since the death of your loved one, I'll invite you to rise in honor of their memory and their life. If it's been within 30 days since the passing of your loved one, I'll invite you to rise. If you are within a year of losing a loved one, I'll invite you to rise. If you're observing a yard site this Shabbat, I'll invite you to rise. And now I'll invite the entire congregation to stand by those who have already risen as we say Zichronam Livracha. May the memory of our loved ones and the light they gave us always be a blessing. We're on page 294, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yomad yivrach yutev yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomachon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'hagala u'zman kari v'yimru, Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mavarach le'olam omei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yivromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudsha brichu, le'olam in kol brichata v'shirata, tush brichata v'nechemata, damiram v'yama v'yimru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, Amen. Osei shalom b'mamav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, Amen.
So long as we live, they too shall live. They are now a part of us. They are now a part of us. They are now a part of us as we remember.
Neil, I invite you to come forward.
Shabbat Shalom and Happy Hanukkah. My name is Neil Weinberger, and I am a student in this year's confirmation class at Central Synagogue. It's been so great seeing everyone back in our sanctuary. However, you can always watch our services virtually through our live stream, Facebook Live, YouTube channel, and local JBS station. There are still 2 more Hanukkah events for you to join. Tomorrow night in our main sanctuary for Central members and virtually for everyone, we will co-host a special Hanukkah concert with WUPJ at 8 p.m. with Rabbi Angela Buchdahl and Kenner Dan Mutlu. Finally, on Sunday night, we will light the last candle with special guest speaker Darren Mack, co-director of Freedom Agenda on Facebook Live. Immediately following tonight's service, it is our honor to call up Juliet Weisvogel for a special Ark blessing. Mazel Tov to our B'nai Mitzvah, Eli Gantz and Izzy Levin, and Renee Zuckerman. Please join us on the Bima to help lead the Kiddush and Motzi blessings. The Kiddush can be found on page 5 of our prayer books.
Right, before you go, Neil, I just have to say that Neil said yahrzeit for his grandfather tonight, Michael Weinberger, who was a past president of the synagogue, and I just have to imagine how proud he would be to know that you were here on the Bima tonight, and how much you sound like a future president on the Bima, don't you think? The way he just talk. So it's in the family, and you should hear him sing too. Thank you very much, Neil. Come on up, guys.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu, Zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit, Ki hu yom techila le'mikrae kodesh, Zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta, Mikol Hamim V'Shabbat Kodechecha Be'ahava u'b'ratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. Amen.
Well, it's dark out there, but it is warm and filled with light in here. And that is how we're going to end this beautiful Shabbat of Hanukkah with our closing song, Light One Candle. You can find it on your order of service.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children. Give thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. And light one candle for peacemakers. Time is at hand. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain we learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger not tear us apart. And light one candle to bind us together with peace as the song in our hearts. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. What is the memory that's valued so highly that we keep it alive in that flame? What's the commitment to those who have died when we cry out they've not died in vain? We have come this far, always believing that justice will somehow prevail. This is the burden, and this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out. Don't let the light go out. Don't let the light go out.
Shabbat Shalom. As you're walking out, we're going to enjoy the choir singing a beautiful Sondheim melody.
It was originally called Shabbos, but they changed it to Sunday, I think.
By the blue, purple, yellow, red water, on the green, purple, yellow, red glass, as we pass through arrangements of shadows towards the verticals of trees forever. By the blue, purple, yellow, red water, fade of flecks of light.